As an upper elementary teacher, we have students that are on all different levels inside of our classrooms. And so knowing how to support these struggling readers can make a really big difference in how they perform academically, but also how they view learning in general. So as a teacher, having that knowledge and the resources to help do this is incredibly important. That's why in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you why reading is just so hard for some of our students and provide you with 2 resources that can help make a big difference for you. So when we think about reading comprehension, it can be broken down into 2 different components. You can have word recognition and then you can have language comprehension. And the 2 of these combined together through a product, so we're multiplying them together, brings about the outcome, which is reading comprehension. This is going to be a theoretical framework called the simple view of reading that was coined by Hoover and Galf in 1990. Now, the simple view has gone on to really make a huge impact in education for how we understand how kids come about with reading comprehension. Like, how do they understand what it is that they're reading? So if we break down these 2 components of word recognition and language comprehension and start to dig a little bit deeper into what each of those components entails, then we can uncover the basic foundations that are necessary for students to acquire in order to become really good readers. So when one of those areas is weak, whether it's word recognition, language comprehension, the entire piece falls apart, which is the outcome of comprehension in general. So students have to have both of these components or elements in their reading, in their repertoire of knowledge, in order to be really good comprehenders. Now, in this video, we're going to focus primarily on word recognition and just what makes learning English so challenging. And hopefully by breaking down these components and understanding these a little bit better, it's going to help you as a literacy teacher support those struggling readers that you have in upper elementary. Because I know what you're thinking. You're like, whoa, Bridget, I don't teach kindergarten or 1st grade. I teach 6th grade. Like, this is not something that I know about, nor is it something that I have to teach on a regular basis. I totally understand. I have been where you have been, but at the end of the day, you are still going to have readers who are not reading on that 6th grade level, and you have to have the knowledge in order to support them. So when you feel secure about understanding what English is built from and how we understand the English language when we're just starting to learn how to read, you can also become a really powerful educator inside of that classroom to support students on so many different levels. We almost have to kind of reframe our brains to stop thinking that I'm a grade level teacher and start thinking I'm a teacher of kids. I teach kids, because that is what we need inside of our classrooms when we're able to adapt our instruction and really hit all of the different levels that we have within our classrooms. So let's break down a little bit more of why is reading so difficult? Well, when you think about it, within the English language, you have letters. How many letters do we have? 26. We have 26 letters in our alphabet. How many sounds do we have in the English language? It's not 26. It's actually 44. We have 44 individual sounds, what we call phonemes, in the English language. So 44 phonemes with 26 letters. However, phonemes, which are sounds, can be built from more than one letter. So in this case, we call them graphemes. Graphemes are going to be the letter or letters that make up an individual sound. And in this case, just wait for it, we have 250 possible graphemes in the English language. So let's just recap for a second. We have 26 letters, 44 sounds, and 250 possible combinations for helping kids understand and learn those 44 sounds. That is a lot, which makes English seem really complicated. And I remember back when I was teaching in kindergarten, and while I was teaching, I would have kids say, well, why is this spelled in a certain way, Mrs. Spackman? And I would turn to them and I would say, well, honey, English is just a kooky, crazy language. Like, that's just the way it is. And poo on me, like poo on me for telling a child that. And it was because I did not have the knowledge and understanding of what the English language was built from. So when you think about the English language, yes, it seems complicated when we have all of these different numbers that we're kind of comprising of. But let me give you one last number to think about. 97. The English language is 97% decodable. Meaning students, if they learn the combinations and the sounds in which our English language is built from, then they can decode 97% of the English words. That's a huge step. And so let me break this down for you just a little bit more. So 50% of the English language can accurately be spelled with just a sound by sound correspondence. These are derived from etymology, and this is Old English that we've built some of these words from. Then we have about 35% that it can be spelled accurately with exception of just one speech sound that is typically irregular or spelled differently. And then we have about 12% of our words that are just irregular correspondences. And these are all typically attached with etymology and morphology when it comes to understanding. Now, I know I'm throwing a lot of words at you. Etymology is just going to be the origin in which we've gained our words. Morphology is going to be looking at the individual morphemes, so the individual units of meaning. So this is a lot of the times where we see prefixes and suffixes and roots coming into play when we are instructing students on those is with morphology. And that's a big thing. So only 4% of the English language is actually odd or just unpredictable spellings. But 97% of the English words are decodable when we have the knowledge and understanding for how the English language is built. So at this point, I've told you about all of the different numbers that are out there. Let's recap one more time. 26 letters, 44 sounds, 250 possible ways to spell it, 97% in which they are decodable. That is a lot happening. But what I want to share with you is a very simple tool to help get you started if learning about the phonemes and graphemes within the English language is brand new to you. And this is going to be a free resource that I will have linked into the description so that you can go and gain access to these and start using them right away, because we want to make sure that we are teaching students the proper ways in order to be able to decode words. So the two resources that I have for you is going to be a consonant phoneme chart, and then also a Vow Valley chart. And we're going to dig into each of these a little bit more closely so that I can help to show you how you can utilize each of these charts when you are instructing your students. So let's first start by taking a look at the consonant phonemes. So remember I told you that there are 44 sounds within the English language. 25 of those sounds are consonant sounds. Now, it is still important for students to understand letters and being able to recognize letters at a very young age. But at some point, we want to start talking to them about consonant phonemes because there are multiple ways in order to spell consonant sounds. So the way that this chart is organized, and this is something that has been adapted from letters, is that it will break down the phoneme for you, and then it'll give you the grapheme spelling along with some word examples. So in this case, we have the phoneme B. And then the grapheme spelling is just the letter B. And it gives you some examples down here at the bottom. Now notice you have some doubles because B, it also is a double grapheme. So it has a doublet. We also have the phoneme P and the grapheme spelling, which is the letter P. And then it provides you with some samples here. So that goes along, and once you start to get into some of the sounds that have multiple graphemes, it'll list those out for you. So in this case, the grapheme D is spelled with the letter D, but it's also spelled with ED because ED makes 3 different sounds within the English language. It says D, id, and T. So you will also see ED here with the phoneme T. And you can see that there is a double and that there is a single as well. And of course, there are some phonemes that have lots of different graphemes in which they are spelled. And it all depends on where it is within a word. So we have CK, CK, CH, QU, QUE, and you have some examples of this phoneme in each of these below. So we have quilt, unique. So you hear the unique sound at the very end of the word unique. That's where the QUE comes into play. But before I move into the Vow Valley, there's a few things that I really want to point out to you. So the first one is going to be here with the TH. So notice that there's 2 TH phonemes. So we have the th and the th. Hopefully you can hear that. Th. And what's really critical about these 2 is that one of them is voiced, the other is non-voiced. It's not voiced. So you're probably thinking, well, Bridget, voiced, not voiced? Like, what does that all mean? So here's a little task that I want you to go through. Take 2 fingers, and this is something you can do with students. Take 2 fingers, and I want you to very gently place it onto your throat. Now, I want you to say, hello, and what do you feel? You feel a vibration in your throat. Now, you're not wanting to hold your throat. That's not what's happening here. So make sure you're teaching kids to just put 2 fingers right on their throat. And I want us to practice saying the voiced and unvoiced with the th. So here's how we're going to do it. Ready? Let's do the th. Say it. Th. And now I want you to say the word thumb. Thumb, thumb. What do you feel in the beginning? Nothing, right? That's because it's not voiced. You're not using your voice box in order to say the sound. It's almost coming out like a whisper. And this is typically how I would teach students how to whisper at the beginning of the year, is I would tell them to say, hello, Mrs. Spackman, just in a normal voice. And then I would want them to whisper, hello, Mrs. Spackman, with them not having any form of vibrations coming from their voice box. It's a really good practice to get students understanding how we pronounce the TH in certain words and when they're voiced and non-voiced. So we've talked about the voiced and non-voiced. Let's talk about a few other sounds within the English language that often get confused. So the first one is the R sound. Now, typically in English, the way that we have taught students in the past is to say But I want you to look at me when I say that sound. What's happening when I'm doing that? You see my lips are like, kind of scrunched. And there are multiple sounds that are actually happening when we say the ER sound as the R sound. When in reality, R is pronounced And we do this by thinking of a word that's going to help us be able to understand where that sound is. And what we are looking for is the vowel to drop. So if we say rat, 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 rat. So what's the difference between me going and You could see a difference with my lips and my teeth and my tongue. Like there's so many different pieces of articulation that's happening with my mouth to understand the difference between them. So the R is pronounced rat, rat. Okay, so we have the sound. The next sound that I want to talk about is going to be the Y, which we normally pronounce as yeah, right? But when we do that, we're putting a schwa into it, which is the part. And Y, if we think of, again, a word to help us kind of clue in to where that sound starts and stops, we're going to think of the word yak. 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 So we hear the yak. So the ye part is actually the sound that Y makes. I know. Is it blowing your mind? It's blowing mine as well. The next sound, and this is the final sound that I want to make sure that we understand, is the W. Now, again, the W is typically taught with W, and that's adding a schwa at the end of it. So we don't say, what are you, like what? We don't say it that way. So we want to make sure we're helping kids articulate the proper pronunciation of it. And W, if we think of the word wish, wish. We don't say wa, we are having that schwa in there. We say wish, wish. So for that sound itself, it's the ooh. Hopefully that helps to add some clarification for you. There actually are two other sounds that I want to make sure that we pick up on. The first one is going to be X. Now, X is going to be one that is not on as a phoneme. So it's actually a grapheme, but it is not a phoneme because X is pronounced with two sounds, two different phoneme sounds. K, s, k, s, k, s. So we say X with two different sounds, the same thing with Q and U. Q and U is pronounced with two sounds. Ooh, k, ooh, koo, koo. You hear the k and the ooh for the W. So it's very, very important that we have that clarification and understanding when we're working to build these sounds with our students. So I wanted to point out where the X and also the Q and the U. So you're going to see QU is up here with the K. So it starts with a K. But then it has the ooh. So we're going to see it pop up down here because it has the two sounds. And if we look for the K and the so the X and the S, we're actually going to find it in the Z because it also can pronounce it as the Z sound. And it also is pronounced with that K and that S sound as well. So just kind of keep that in mind as we are sharing a little bit more and helping students understand our consonant phonemes. Okay, so let's talk now about the Vow Valley. And with the Vow Valley, it's the same type of idea, except now we're looking at our vowels, which there are 19 different vowels within the English language. And then a total of 44 sounds, which are our phonemes. 19 of those make up our vowels, 25 make up our consonant sounds. So what's really nice about the Vow Valley is that this is very intentional when we're presenting it to students. And the reason why it's intentional is because it follows a particular path when we're pronouncing it. So I want us, and we're going to practice this for a little bit, but if you can see that there is a bold word for each of the sounds that you see here on the valley, we're not going to focus on the schwa, and we're not going to focus on our O-I, O-Y, O-U-O-W, and our control vowels. We're just going to focus right here with these sounds. And what I want you to do is, as I say it, I want you to say it, but I want you to really pay attention to what's happening with your chin and also how and what's happening with your mouth. And then I'm going to come back face view and show you what's happening as well. So let's say the words see, sit, make, bed, cat, time, fox, cup, saw, vote, took, moo, cute. One more time. See, sit, make, bed, cat, time, fox, cup, saw, vote, took, moo, cute. Did you notice how, as we went further down into the valley, our mouth was opening up even more? And so that articulates the valley, and that's why it's shaped in a valley, because you can see where it's really thin, your lips are barely kind of parting, and then all of a sudden it drops really wide open when we get to the short O sound. So it's very intentional in that sense to help kids understand why sounds or how sounds are made and how we can differentiate between those sounds as well. So we have a bunch of words that are spelled with different combinations or different graphemes to help create that sound for that vowel. And so you can see them here. You have for the long A, you have AI, AY, EA. You have the A, EI, EI, EY. So there's so many different patterns, and it just articulates the different various graphemes that can be spelled, but it helps you understand where it is in that valley. And a lot of the times, if students really understand the concept of their mouth opening up as they go into the deeper into the valley, then they can help to differentiate between which vowel is being pronounced in particular words to be able to help them. One other thing to really note about the Vow Valley is that when you have vowels that are very close to one another, this is where a lot of the confusions will lie for students. So if you're starting to see that we are mixing up the E and the I, it's because they're very close and students don't have a very good understanding of the articulation or the manner in which we are articulating, meaning what is happening with our tongue, teeth, lips, nose, mouth during this process of making sounds. So help students be able to understand the differences between these really close relatives of where we are within this Vow Valley. Now, obviously, there are so many different things that we can talk about when it comes to understanding the English language and how we help students be able to read. But having a resource as simple as this one to really help you as a teacher understand what is happening with these sounds, where are we getting all of these different spellings, how do we know when to use certain spellings or why kids are confusing particular spellings is important. Of course, this is not going to solve all of the problems in the world or give you all of the knowledge that you need in order to become a proficient teacher in helping kids learn how to read, but it's a start. And that start is sometimes what we need in order to help drive our passion and our understanding for acquiring new knowledge to be able to support our learners in the long run. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found this very helpful. Don't forget that there will be a link for you to be able to grab these two resources in the description box, totally free. And then I would love for you to take a moment to just give this video a thumbs up. Just like the video. It helps me to be able to get out there to so many other teachers. And if you aren't already, subscribe to the channel. We upload videos about literacy instruction and how to support students in an authentic but rigorous manner. So we would love to have you here. It's completely free, no cost to you. So you can just hit that subscribe button, that like button, and also the notification bell so you can get notified when we upload a brand new video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.